Alrighty, let's keep moving on here. And Gardner Minshew, he's back in the news, folks. Minshew Mania, and this time he wants a chance to compete for a starting quarterback job. With the Jaguars, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's it. I mean, unfortunate for Gardner Minshew. He had his opportunities. Solid. We're going to look at his stats in a second, and they're solid stats, but unfortunately they didn't translate to wins. Now, is that because the Jaguars were trash? Yeah, we could probably say that. But at the end of the day, he wasn't getting it done winning games, and you have to win in this league. If you don't win in this league, it's unfortunate. It doesn't really matter what your stats are looking like. Jameis Winston, his stats, 30 yards, or 30 yards. Could you imagine 30 yards for an entire season? 30 touchdowns, 33 touchdowns, and 5,000 yards in a season. But once again, not translating to wins. Went 7-9. Had to go. Had to get out of there. No more Jameis Winston starting. And now he's kind of at square one competing for a job again. So the Jaguars say they may take a 5th or 6th round pick for Gardner Minshew. So we'll see if he ends up kind of getting dealt. If he goes to the Packers, that's going to be an interesting team to look for. And as we're kind of saying this, is there any team that still needs a starting quarterback? Is there any team? So let's quickly go through the teams really quickly and see if there is even a chance for Gardner Minshew to compete for any job. And then we'll go from there. So here we go. The Seahawks, they got Russell Wilson. The Rams, come on, we just talked about it. The Cardinals, the 49ers, they just drafted their guy. The Cardinals don't need one either. The Saints, they've already got their competition quarterback there with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. Tom Brady with the Bucs, they've got their backup of Kyle Trask. The Carolina Panthers, well, Matt Rule's set on Sam Darnold for some reason. We don't understand it. We don't think it's going to work out, but that's what he wants. The Falcons with Matt Ryan, that he's going to be their guy, and there's no competition there. Washington football team, this is an interesting spot. Definitely could be there. We're going to talk about them, I think, in the next story, but there is a quarterback competition there with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke. So, I mean, you add a third quarterback into that mix, potential there. That's a potential spot for him, even though I really think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is just going to be kind of the starter just because he has the experience, and they're kind of in a win, not a really win now mode, but they want to win while rebuilding, and they've kind of proven that they can win while rebuilding. So that's kind of the path I think they're going to take, even though nothing's been concluded. So Washington's definitely a potential spot for Gardner Minshew, and if it's only going to cost a 5th or 6th round pick, that's not too bad. Giants have Daniel Jones. Cowboys have Dak Prescott. Philadelphia Eagles have Jalen Hurts. The Green Bay Packers. Now, yeah, that's a team that he could potentially go for because it's seeming like Aaron Rodgers is definitely not going to play there. We'll see the next mandatory camp. That's when we'll probably get a lot more information. Especially since we just talked about Jordan Love floundering in day 3, so we can't really trust him anyway. But for him to go to the Packers, that's potential there. He could potentially be the starter. It's not that. I mean, let's go to the Green Bay Packers depth chart looking like it's just quarterbacks. Obviously, we know they got Jordan Love, but like, who's their second? Who can potentially take his job? Because it's not looking like he wants that job, or he's actively getting that job anyway. So let's see their depth chart really quickly. Let's see what they've got at their quarterback roster. Let's see what we got here. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, Jordan Love, Blake Bortles. Oh, they got Blake Bortles and Kirk Benkert. Okay. So obviously, you know, maybe he could try to compete with that. I mean, yeah, easily he could compete with Jordan Love and Blake Bortles, easily. And then it's just all going to depend on really what happens with Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, definitely Washington and Green Bay so far, some good fits potentially for Gardner Minshew to win a starting job. No real great quarterbacks there. We are assuming that Aaron Rodgers is not going to play for the Packers this season. But let's keep going here. The Bears, they've got their guy. We just talked about him. Matt Nagy's loving it. The Vikings, they've kind of got their guy, and then they got the backup. We talked about it yesterday on the show. Kirk Cousins wanting to be that mentor for Mund. We'll see how he plays out. Detroit Lions, they got Jared Goff. So, I mean, he's been a starter in this league. Solid. Maybe you get another quarterback competition behind him, but I don't really think Gardner Minshew can outperform him. The Tennessee Titans got Ryan Tannehill. The Colts have the Super Bowl 22 MVP here, and the 2022 Super Bowl MVP in Carson Wentz. Houston Texans, well, they got Deshaun Watson, who we don't know what the hell's going on with that. But then they also got Tyrod Taylor as the backup. So it's really kind of seeming like Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter here. And I don't know if Gardner Minshew can really challenge him. Jacksonville Jaguars, well, that's where he's at right now. The Bills, they've got their guy. The Dolphins have their guy. The Patriots, they got Cam Newton. They got mac and cheese. They kind of seem solid so far. The Jets, they just drafted their guy. They're not going to, even think about another starting quarterback. The Steelers, potential here. Potential for the Steelers. I'm not buying this Mason Rudolph, folks. I'll take Gardner Minshew over Mason Rudolph any day of the week, all day of the week, every day, leap year, no year. I'm taking Minshew, folks. I'm taking the mustache. I'm not taking Mason Rudolph. So, but it's not going to be this year. Big Ben's going to be the starter this year, but maybe if he wants a job next year, that's a potential landing spot for him. Learn behind Big Ben, learn the system, and then next year you can really compete. They'll probably draft the quarterback regardless of what happens, whatever quarterback they bring in, just have on the roster. But yeah, the Steelers, a potential landing spot for him, but not going to be a starter this year. The Ravens, no, they got Lamar Jackson. The Browns have Baker Mayfield. The Bengals, they've got their new guy. The Chiefs, obviously, come on, folks. We're talking about MVP. We're talking about MVP. We're talking about Hall of Fame and Patty Mahomes over there. The Raiders are looking good on Derek Carr. The Chargers have Justin Herbert. And the Broncos, I mean, folks, they've already got, their quarterback in Teddy B. They got their backup in Drew Lock. There's talks of Deshaun Watson wanting to be a Denver Broncos. So they've really, truly had their hands full at the quarterback position. So Gardner Minshew, there is some spots this year that he could potentially be the starter. Washington and Green Bay. Those are two solid teams that he could go to if he ends up getting dealt like he wants to. So we'll keep an eye on him, but can he play? Like I said, I mean, these stats are pretty solid. I'm not going to lie. It just unfortunately does not result into any wins. 2019, when he got his first start, Minshew Mania broke out there. 2019, he went 6-6. So once again, 500, that's not good enough. It's unfortunately not good enough in this league. It's unfortunate, but it's realistic. It's what's happening. If you're not above 500, if you're not winning games, we can't keep you as a starter no matter how good your stats are. And he had 60% completion year one. Once again, a little bit on the low side, but still 60. We can build off of that, and he definitely did that. We're going to talk about year two in a second. He had 3,200 yards, 21 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions, and that was fantastic. That's what we love about this man. He does not turn the ball over, folks. I think he did have a lot of fumbles his first year. He did fumble 13 times his first year, so that's unfortunate, and we don't get the breakdown, and that's why we hate this, because we don't get the breakdown of fumbles lost. We just see total fumbles. Fumbles lost and recovered. So he fumbled 13 times, probably didn't lose them all, but still, potential for turnovers there, not interceptions though, so that we can definitely build on once again. Stop running the ball. You're not a runner. Protect the ball. We can learn that, but he's not throwing interceptions, and that's something that we can build on, like we said. And then year two, once again, did not result into wins, 1-7, folks, but once again, his stats were good, and only those 8 games, 66% completion percentage. That's what we're freaking talking about, folks. We want to see you in 62-65, and obviously everything over 65% is great. That's what we're talking about. So 66% completion percentage, 2,200 yards in 8 games. You double that, we're at 4,000 for the entire year. That's what we're talking about again. And the touchdown and interceptions. We got 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 3-1. Yes, sir. Give us that. And the fumbles went down year 2 as well. Only 5 fumbles in total. Lost and recovered. So exactly what we're talking about. But unfortunately, it just did not translate to win. So let's go to these game logs in 2020. And see, were they getting blown out? Were they not competitive? Or was they just kind of close games, not really on Minshew's fault because the team overall was just absolutely garbage? So just last season, let's see these games. Here we go. They win against the Colts. That was their only win of the season, 27-20. He threw 95% completion percentage, folks. He missed 1 throw, 3 touchdowns, no picks for 173 yards. That's what we're talking about. That's his potential right here. Great. But then, unfortunately, he lost every other game after that. How do you beat the Colts and then you go out and lose against all the other teams? So they lost against the Titans, but only by 3. He had 2 interceptions that game, so, kind of heavy in that game with the interceptions, but still 66% completion percentage, 339 yards. They got blown out by the Dolphins, 31-13. No touchdowns, 1 interception, but once again, 71% completion percentage, 275 yards. That's buildable. They lost against the Bengals by 8, 33-25. 2 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. Once again, those interceptions are truly killing him. When he does throw them, it's unfortunate they lose the game. But once again, 67% completion percentage, 351 yards. I mean, it's there. It's there. And then they get blown out by Houston, 30-14. 2 touchdowns, no picks, still losing, unfortunately. 63% completion percentage, still losing. They get blown out by Detroit, 34-16. He had a bad game this time, 56% completion percentage. They get blown out by the Chargers by 10, and that Chargers defense is pretty solid. 2 touchdowns, no picks, but 51% completion percentage. Then he's inactive for a little bit. He gets thrown right back in there, back to getting blown out. Let's see what was going on here when he was not playing through weeks 9 through 13. So he started weeks 1 through 7. That's what we just read off, and then kind of got benched for weeks 9 through 13. They were still losing. Lost against the Houston Texans again, this time only by 2 instead of getting blown out by 16, 27-25. They lose by Green Bay by 4, 24-20. They get blown out by Pittsburgh, 27-3. They get blown out, or not blown out by Cleveland. They lose by 2 by Cleveland, 27-25. And then they lose by Minnesota close, 27-24. They throw them back in there, and then they're back to getting blown out. These are not good signs here. Getting blown out by the Titans while Gardner Minshew played, 31-10, 58% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, no picks. They get blown out by Baltimore, 40-14, 75% completion percentage, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. It's unfortunately not translating to wins, and they are kind of getting blown out in a lot of their games. Now, like we said, we can chalk this up to just the Jaguars overall being trashed, and I would have no problem with that. So, if a team wants to take a chance on Gardner Minshew, I think that's solid here. I think that is a solid backup to have that can compete for a starting job. Washington's got a great defense to keep the games close, and we see Gardner Minshew can go out and sling the ball. We've seen it. We just looked at the stats. These are promising, workable, buildable stats. Just have to have that good defense. And that's what Washington has. So, yeah, Gardner Minshew can go to Washington and kind of compete for that starting job. I'd give him a solid chance there. And then for Green Bay, they already had the infrastructure there to kind of compete for rings. They went 13-3 the last 2 years. The defense is there. The weapons are there. Just the quarterback, unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers is not. And Jordan Love is not looking like that piece either. So, Washington and Green Bay, you put Gardner Minshew on teams full of talent, and we can kind of start looking at some good wins here. So, yeah, I actually kind of talked myself into Gardner Minshew. I'm liking it now. Coming into this, I wasn't really thinking he was going to be that great to be a starter, but looking at those stats, those are buildable stats, and he's only 2 years in, folks. He's only 2 years in. We see players taking that year 3 leap. Josh Allen, watch out for Daniel Jones this year. So he's still young in this league, folks. And I think Gardner Minshew has a pretty good chance to be a starter at some point again in his career. He's got the yards. He's got the kind of stats. He has the kind of on-field reps in games and experience out there to build on all of that. So, yeah, get Gardner Minshew out of here. Get him out of Jacksonville, folks. So, yeah, that's where we're at with Gardner Minshew, folks. Wants out, and yeah, I'm kind of liking it. So, we'll see, folks. We will see. If he gets traded, the asking price is not too high, folks. 5th or 6th round pick. That's pretty solid if you need a quarterback right now, and there are a couple of teams that do need that. So, we will keep an eye on him. The Minshew, folks. The Minshew.